Good Sunday, Austin. Welcome to Living Wealthy Radio with your host, Teresa-Kuhn.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Living Wealthy Radio, heard every Sunday at noon here on Talk Radio 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, streaming live at talk1370.com. I am Teresa-Kuhn, helping you live wealthier. Resources are available for you at livingwealthyradio.com. Post-traumatic stress disorder and depression are just a couple of the psychological diseases in our country with incidence rates that are increasing. We hear warnings about the dangerous side effects of the drugs used to treat these illnesses, but we don't hear of any changes being made by the pharmaceutical companies and doctors. In 2011, it was reported that there were over 21 million veterans in the United States. And Forbes recently published an article about the suicide rates among those veterans in active duty military that has jumped from 18 to 22 per day. Unfortunately, this is not a new or unique issue. And it's become very clear over the last few years of tracking this problem that current efforts to help are not decreasing the numbers. So where do those that suffer with these issues and those that have sacrificed for our country and fought for our freedoms go for help? When they come home from war, they're experiencing violence and terror on a level we cannot even imagine and are left at the mercy of a very broken system to cope with the emotional damage that has been inflicted on them. Our guest today is Dr. Mark Millar, also known as the Lithium Doctor, for his controversial treatment and research. Dr. Millar has spent a good part of the last 5 years researching the healing properties of a compound that has been named toxic by many doctors and pharmaceutical companies, but he believes that this compound can help people struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, and a number of other mental and physical ailments. Doctor, thank you so much for joining Living Wealthy Radio today. And tell us, what encouraged you to begin studying the healing effects of lithium?
Sure. It's good to be with you, Teresa. And, my journey began with my own battle with bipolar disorder, and like so many, mine began in my late teens, 17, 18 years of age. I began to notice these superhuman levels of energy that just continued on for many, many, many years, actually decades, and ultimately became such a challenge that I went into deep research on this subject. We're talking about lithium-orotate today, and before we get into that, I guess I'll just finish up the premise for what got me started was that I had used pharmaceuticals for bipolar disorder, such as the antipsychotics, anticonvulsants, and antidepressants. And many of those, and I tried many different brands as well, and many of them made the symptoms actually worse. Particularly the antidepressants can push bipolar individuals into mania, and it can be a very dangerous situation. And but for all of the efforts we made with the pharmaceuticals, we came up time and time again very disappointed with the overall benefits. There were some definite reductions in certain symptoms, but overall the drugs were far less than suitable for what I was seeking. And ultimately, I really gave up on them. And it was to my good fortune that my mother, of all things, came back from the health food store one day, and she said, I just got back from the health food store, and I had this great conversation with the nutritionist there, and he said, you've got to try this lithium-orotate. I said, Mom, I've already used lithium, and, it's toxic, and I don't want to use it. It's bad for the kidneys, et cetera. She said, no, I got this at the health food store. You're not listening. And she said, let me tell you, he says this is non-toxic, and this lithium-orotate is taken at doses that are 90% less, or 1/10 of the dose that the pharmaceutical companies are giving us. So that's the difference we're talking about, Teresa, is the pharmaceutical doses are in the hundreds of milligrams each day of pure lithium, and this nutritional product is given in the tens of milligrams, typically 20 to 30 milligrams for a bipolar individual compared to 200 to 300 from a pharmaceutical salt of the lithium. So big difference there.
So the lithium that your mom bought for you is a nutritional supplement because of the dose?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Many people think that lithium's a drug. In fact, long before there was even a pharmaceutical company, lithium's been in the ground like all the other minerals. It's a metallic mineral in the same class as sodium and potassium. And it is mined right out of waterways, aquifers, and mineral brines, and it's dried out as lithium carbonate, packaged up with binders, and shipped off as a drug. But, minerals aren't drugs, no matter how badly the pharmaceutical wants to classify them as such. But the difference is the nutritional product has been combined with an organic acid called orotic acid, and that's where the orotate comes in, this lithium-orotate equation. Orotic acid is organic. It's produced by our own cells in our body. It's a byproduct of cellular metabolism, and it comes in large quantities from mother's milk. When we breastfeed the children, they're getting big doses of orotic acid, and it's also prevalent in our diets of fruits, vegetables, grains, etc. So orotic acid is very organic, as I said, and very recognized by the human body as something natural, and that it doesn't have any problem with. So this Dr. Hans Nieper is the developer. He combined orotic acid with the lithium, and all of a sudden he found that he had now a fully absorbed lithium compound, that the brain could absorb all of the lithium, and they were able to reduce the dosages by about 90% to get the same benefits that the medical doctors were getting at the psychiatric hospitals with those mega doses. So that's the deal there.
The pharmaceutical drug doesn't have the orotate. Is that correct?
Right. It's a carbonate. So it's just these are mineral carriers or mineral transporters. These are attached because minerals taken in pill form supplementally are always attached to a carbonate or a chloride or a citrate or some other variation. And the natural product we find at the health food store is attached to orotic acid. So that's the difference. It's allowing this lithium to be transported by the orotic acid through the cell membrane, which the pharmaceutical has such a difficult time doing. It doesn't get through the cell membrane very well, if at all. And that's the difference. It's transportation, and it's orotic acids being organic that makes it so effective.
So dumbing it down a bit for me, the difference between this nutritional supplement is the way it gets transported to our bodies, where our bodies can assimilate it, versus the pharmaceutical drug.
Right. This is referred to as bioavailability. So whether or not a cell can actually absorb a mineral is based on largely what it's attached to. It's bioavailability. So the pharmaceutical is very poorly absorbed. That's why they have to take mega doses of it. And ours is 100% assimilated, very easily absorbed, and that's why we're able to take 90% less, or 1/10 of the amount, where there's no side effects, no negative side effects, and there's no drug interactions at all. So there's just, we have children taking 8 tablets a day, which is about 40 milligrams of pure lithium, and getting fantastic results with things like ADHD and bipolar disorder and migraine headaches. So children are able to take these kind of doses, and they've been coming off of doses, the children themselves, from 250 milligrams of pure lithium down into the 20, 30, 40 milligrams. So it's just a huge benefit. Parents love it because they know they're giving their kids something that's very well assimilated without side effects. So,
and you had a very unique background. Tell us about your educational background and your practice before.
Sure. Well, I probably was triggered into bipolar disorder by a head-on collision. I was a 17-year-old. I was hit by a drunk driver on a freeway and was knocked unconscious for nearly an hour. It was pretty severe, closed-head injury. I had severe spinal injuries, and I was pretty disabled for many months after the accident. And as soon as I was able to get up and get going, it was the summer by that point, and I went to Alaska, got on the king crab boat, went out on the ocean, and for 2 years I was in that incredibly high sea, high danger industry, and it was very much in a fight or flight response every day that I was on the crab boat in those high seas. So my whole nervous system was recovering from a head injury, while at the same time I was experiencing almost combat level stress. And when I got off that boat, I was full-blown manic depressive, and I was also crippled by the auto injury and the spinal injury. So it all came together, and I ended up going to a chiropractor at 19 years of age. To make a long story short, I became a chiropractor, was inspired by the treatment that I got, and I eventually, once graduated, went into auto accident injury because of my own history, and I just loved what we were able to do for people that were really severely injured. And so that was my practice. My specialty was auto injury, whiplash, etc. And I love nutrition. So my college at Parker College of Chiropractic in Dallas, Texas, put a heavy emphasis on nutrition. With herbs and vitamins, minerals, enzymes was a big part of my practice. And we saw such great results when people would utilize the right nutrition to help repair their body or beat and fight stress that was so often disabling them as well. So that's my background, just a combination of the injuries with the head injury and the bipolar disorder, and it made it very difficult for me. So I didn't find lithium-orotate until many, many, many years into practice. And so it made my business very difficult. And once I got the lithium-orotate, my whole life just turned around. And literally within a week, I was a new person on this lithium-orotate.
Isn't that amazing? And it's so interesting that you had the background, right? The nutritional chiropractic background to appreciate what it was that your mother was giving you. And when you saw the effects, you've spent the last 5 years of your life full-time researching, digging very, very deep into the science and the research behind the lithium.
That's right. Well, the last 3 years it's been full-time. I'm retired now. And, what got me was that I had, like so many of us who've heard about lithium, most people don't know what it is. If you ask them, if they're honest, they say, I don't know. But about half of us say, isn't that drug they give to crazy people? Or they'll say bipolar, And then inevitably they'll say, yeah, that's such a toxic, heavy-duty, big-gun drug. It's just... And this was my mindset. I had been, apparently, when I was, in the chiropractic college, when we were studying minerals, just all I heard was that lithium's a drug. It never dawned on me. So I was not familiar with lithium until my mother brought this to me. And all of a sudden, when I started researching, I realized, oh my gosh, the whole of our society is in the dark about what lithium is, and everybody believes it's dangerous, toxic to the kidneys and the liver and all this. And I started looking at it, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is an essential trace mineral. Many, many medical doctors are coming to the forefront now with their research as well, promoting the fact that it's essential. It has its own unique enzymatic pathways that it is functioning to give us optimal health. So as I looked further and further into it, I realized that the American people are under horrific stress. We have a suicide epidemic in the United States, one of the largest in the world. We have an apparent lithium deficiency syndrome that's probably affecting somewhere between 10 to 25%. So, it's hard to say, and I don't have a good means to measure that, but from what I've seen in my clientele, I'm suggesting that it's probably close to 15-20%. 1 in 5 people, I think, has a low level of lithium deficiency. When we give them just a single tablet, which has about 5 milligrams of pure lithium, this 1 in 5 anyway gets an amazing relief just from one little tablet. And so 5 milligrams seems to be more than sufficient to cover most people with a deficiency.
Is the deficiency due to our foods, what we're eating, what we're drinking?
Yeah. Yes, well,
lifestyle?
Sugars and carbohydrate sugars do metabolize lithium out of the system very rapidly. So for those that are abusing sugars in their diet, they can be forcing a lithium deficiency on themselves. But most commonly, it's just that our soils have been so depleted now for over 100 years that lithium is almost non-existent in the soil. And it is the single lightest, smallest element on the periodic table of elements. It's number 3. So it's the smallest solid element, And as such, being the smallest, it would be one of the most readily absorbed into our plants and our crops because it's so minute. And so it probably very rapidly was taken out of the soils. So for the last 50, 60 years, what we've seen is a huge spike in the mental disorders, particularly bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder. And all of these may be largely due to a deficiency of lithium. And when we're deficient, we are subject to mood disorders, severe depressions, and horrific anxiety attacks, and sleeplessness, and all of this spirals into a horrific situation that people can't get out of unless they start drugging. And typically it's first they reach for alcohol or marijuana or street drugs. But marijuana and alcohol are the two main things that people are, self-medicating with. And this is really common for bipolar patients, marijuana in particular. It is a great benefit to them, but it in no way fixes the lithium deficiency. So, they're still dealing with a lot of symptoms. So it's based, I really believe it's based on the demineralization of soils. Now, this is the interesting part, and this is where my research took me into the veteran viewpoint here. We discovered that lithium in the waterways, natural aquifers, what we are all drinking from, at very low doses, starting at 1/10 of 1 milligram, were found in 3 different countries around the world to dramatically reduce suicides by 30 to 50% when just 1/10 of 1 milligram was available in their daily water supply. Now, that sounds crazy that little dose would make all that difference. But the fact is, in Japan, the United States, and Austria, all 3 countries did the same water study, and all 3 found the same thing. Lithium in the water for the local community dramatically reduced suicides, and it's an astounding finding. So this is why I started the books for the veterans, and the 2 books they can find at my website. By the way, the address to the website is StopVeteranSuicides, plural, suicides.com, and the shortcut is www.stopv, V as in Victor, S as in Sam, stopvs.com. We'll get you to the website. There's a free report there they can download. But they can also call me at 480-282-1545. That number again is 480-282-1545.
And we will have all the contact information on our website, also Living Wealthy Radio, with the recording of the show. So all that information will be on there for sure. So you've got, in your materials, you've got a whole list of conditions that you believe this nutritional supplement, lithium-orotate, works with. And of course, we've got to say the disclaimer on the show, you've got to talk to your doctor first, right? If you've got any issues, and make sure that this isn't, we can't recommend to anybody to go out and take this supplement, right? And nor does this supplement cure anything.
I have to correct you on that. So let's just look at we cover our butts by saying, before you make any changes in your pharmaceutical daily protocol, you should always consult with your physician. Having said that, this is a nutritional supplement that is sold freely. You don't have to have a prescription. You can walk right in and pick it up. And the manufacturers recommend 2 tablets a day as just a general supplemental dose. And they do recommend that if you are pregnant, that you definitely consult with your physician and such. But there's very little, if any, concern for just the 2-tablet dose. You can take it right on top of your medications. And unfortunately, most of the medical doctors out there have no idea what lithium-orotate is, nor do they have much experience with the pharmaceutical lithium, because it is almost exclusively used in psychiatric medicine. So when our clients go to their general practitioners, the doctors kind of shake their head and go, I have no idea. I don't know what to tell you. So that's why I do consultations. Everybody that buys a bottle from me gets a free consultation, and we get them set up, and I talk to their doctors if their doctors want to talk to me. I do have psychiatrists call me, and so it's a real educational process. But in general, what we find is that the low-dose lithium, as the manufacturer has suggested, 2 times a day, doesn't cause any negative side effects, and it has no drug interactions whatsoever. So people are able to just start taking that without concern. So they can do that. It's legal, and certainly they have the freedom to do that. And to cover my own little hiney, I have to say, before you make changes, talk to your doctor, and also call me. So,
right. Well, I've got a hiney to cover as well, so thank you for covering both our heinies here. So, what I'm curious, when the psychiatrists call you up and talk to you about this supplement, what is their reaction?
Well, I just had a call last week, and she had already started using it, and she just wanted to know how much she could give and how much she should give. So that was her primary question.
Did they ever follow up with you and share the results?
Yeah. Yes, a lot of doctors call back and say, I've got a new patient, we've got these symptoms, and, because when we talk about taking more than the recommended dose on the bottle, which is 2 tablets, and typically the clients that I'm consulting with are taking generally between 4 and 6 tablets a day for the conditions I'll mention in just a moment. So while we can cover our basic deficiency with just 1 tablet, we're using lithium-orotate as what's referred to as an orthomolecular medicine. That was a phrase coined, termed by Dr. Linus Pauling. Mm-hmm. He's the 2-time Nobel Prize winner. And he discovered that we could take larger doses of nutrition to fight all kinds of chronic degenerative diseases. So we're recommending to people to take, for example, my niece takes 8 tablets a day, which is about 40 milligrams of pure lithium, for her migraines, and it's been an absolute miracle for her. And when my doctor advised my sister to do so, my sister kind of looked at him like, 8 pills a day? Isn't that a lot? And he said, no, not at all.
They're tiny.
Yeah, they're very tiny. They're almost like little baby aspirins. Mm-hmm. And each one has just under 5 milligrams of pure lithium. So we're talking about tens of milligrams, not hundreds of milligrams like the psychiatric form. And that's why we're able to give it to young and old without any side effects or concerns about drug interactions. And the only exception to that is if you're on antidepressants, lithium dramatically boosts production of serotonin, along with other neurotransmitters. But the one that we've seen challenges with is those that are taking the larger doses of the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, such as Celexa or Lexapro, or what are some of the other antidepressants, Paxil, Prozac. This lithium supplement will boost the serotonin levels, and you can get too much serotonin, so you want to start off slowly with the lithium-orotate, just gradually increase it over several weeks until you start to feel a little jittery. And that's when your brain's actually producing a lot more serotonin. You should be feeling much better at this point. And if you take, for example, 4 tablets at the end of the second week, you've gone up to 4 tablets for depression, and you start to feel a little jittery, then your serotonin level is really up high, and now you can reduce by about 25%. You can reduce your antidepressant dose. And I like to work with the doctors on this, with the patient involved. And just gradually over about 8 to 12 weeks, people come off their antidepressants. We like to include in their protocol the B vitamin complex, certainly the folic acid and B12, and the omega-3 fish oils are fantastic as a combination to get off of the antidepressants. So it is a process, but it works great.
And you know what, doctor, is amazing to me is how cheap this supplement is.
Yes. That's one of the great things about it.
It's unbelievably inexpensive.
Yeah.
You sell it on your website, which, again, we're going to link up on livingwealthyradio.com. But on your website, you're selling a bottle, which, how long does a bottle last typically?
Generally about 2 to 3 months, depending on the dose.
1 bottle?
Yes. Yeah, there's 200 tablets in there.
Okay. And so
many of our clients are just taking 3 tablets a day. So they've got over 2 months' supply there in that bottle of 200 tablets.
And with shipping, it's less than $20, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic product. Mothers are just going crazy with this because their children with ADHD and severe anxiety or panic attacks. We've got children today that are just suffering so.
I know.
With autism, Asperger's syndrome. In my document, I'm not sure you've reviewed this one yet, but it's I believe 70 pages of testimonials from, for example, parents with children with Asperger's, autism, ADHD, some of the explosive disorders that children have. They go into a rage and they can't control them for hours. They are getting miraculous results with this lithium-orotate, and it's changing lives. I had a grandmother just call me, Teresa. She said, I cannot tell you. She said, our hands are in the air praising God. She said, our family has been completely transformed. Now, this is the grandmother. So her three daughters had three different kids, and all three children have severe neurological disorders. And none of them were sleeping for years. So the parents were beside themselves up throughout the night, and the 2.5-year-old, the baby of the bunch, had not slept for more than 1 or 2 hours at a stretch in 2.5 years since birth. They gave her 2.5 tablets of lithium-orotate, and immediately overnight, first night, straight through 8 hours, and it was continuous ever since. And she called me up. She was in tears. She said, we can't even tell you what this has done for our entire family. The other two children, they're in their teens, and their lives have been transformed. What is this stuff, and how does it work? She just... so it's wonderful, obviously, when you get calls like that. And
oh my gosh, that's when I met you, I knew I had to share this on the radio, because the testimonials, the research you've done, the cost of the supplement. I mean, this is not about making money. You are not getting rich.
This is not a get rich.
This is not a get rich quick scheme here. There's no, there's nothing except you had this bipolar disease that you were dealing with. Your mother gave you a supplement. It opened up your eyes to the research, and you've spent 7,000 hours, right? Making sure that the information was correct. Now you're sharing it with the world, and you can help so many people. Lithium does not have the best reputation, and doctors and pharmaceutical companies do warn against the toxicity of the drug. But you claim in your research that this is a nutritional supplement, and this compound has helped so many with common mental and physical disorders. When we get back from our break, we're going to go ahead and go into more information. So we're going to take a station break, and we'll be back in a few.
You are listening to Living Wealthy Radio with Teresa-Kuhn. Catch Teresa every Sunday at noon, and be sure to visit livingwealthyfinancial.com for more information, or call 1-800-382-0830 to set up a consultation with Teresa. She's local and excited to speak with you.
Living Wealthy Radio. Visit Teresa's team online at livingwealthy.